How many of you guys knew that Cheddite actually has their own line of shot shells rather than just hulls and stuff? Yeah, they do. They have their own line, and they offer them in every gauge besides 10, I think. I know they offer them in even 24 and 32 gauge over in Italy, well, Europe, but we can't get Cheddite's 24 and 32 gauge ammo here in America, but they're done with fold crimps. Anyway, the focus of this is 28 gauge. I believe this is only the second 28 gauge breakdown we've done here on this channel. Could be the third. But anyway, these came from Steve from Texas. He actually sent 4 different boxes of 28 gauge. So as time goes on, we'll do some breakdown videos on those too. But this box, just, you know, going over the box here, looks really nice, I will have to say. I love the black, orange, and white color combos. It looks really good to me. 28 gauge 2 3/4 inch 1330 FPS 3/4 ounce of number 8 shot. Perfect for breaking clays. The front of the box is once again just the specs. This is a target load, obviously. We do have a picture of a clay right there center screen and one on top. So obviously these are intended for targets, as in clay pigeons, pop bottles, range trash. This side of the box, Cheddite, Italy. Since 1901, they're 123 years old. I didn't know they were that old. But this is just a bunch of warnings, nothing really of note there. The back of the box is the exact same as the front. And the other side of the box, again, Cheddite, Italy, since 1901. They do have a really nice logo that actually looks really nice to me. Anyway, supplier, Cheddite, Italy, SRL, whatever that means. And the bottom of the box is more warnings, nothing of note there. And that, I'm not sure what language that is, to be honest. The box kind of reminds me of a Monarch shot shell box, but the colors are reversed. Those are mainly white with black and orange. This is mainly black with white and orange. Pretty interesting there, but guys, the shell. This is my first time ever seeing a clear 28 gauge shell. I know they're out there. I knew they were out there. I have seen them on the internet, just never seen them in person. And yes, you can kind of see the components already. We have a green wad in there with what looks to be nickel plated shot and a blue and pink powder. That's pretty cool. Lots of colors going on in here, but the shell just says 28 gauge 1330 FPS, which is kind of high velocity for a target load. I guess this would be a high velocity target load. 3/4 ounce of number 8 shot, says universal on it, and we have our Cheddite logo, which you can't really make out because it's printed on a ribbed plastic hull. But it also just says target down there, 2 3/4 inch, and that's all it says. We do have a fold crimp on it. A really nice fold crimp. We have the Cheddite CX1000 primer in here, not the CX2000. This is their a little bit weaker strength primer. It's not quite regular strength. These actually come in the Cheddite 32 gauge hulls I have. You can tell the difference by the actual primer cup color. This is a brass washed steel. The CX2000 standard strength primers have a copper washed steel primer. But that is brass, which indicates, again, CX1000. And it just says 28 gauge, or 28 with dashes. We have a 16mm head on it. And this is brass washed steel. Anyway, without further ado, let's open this up and have a look at the components themselves. Today's snooze and drink combo is actually my favorite drink of all time. Vanilla Coke. This is 0 sugar. And we have to go with that, Al Capone Vanilla. This is completely off topic, but let me know if you guys have this in your area, the 0 sugar one specifically of the Coke Vanilla, because here where I live, it's really hard to find. The Walmart over in the next town had it for, I don't know, a couple months here and there, and I haven't seen it in over a year. We had to order this from Walmart.com, me and my wife did, and this is embarrassing to admit, but we paid $24 for this single 12-pack. So yeah, $24 for a single 12-pack of pop or soda, whatever you want to call it. Not good. So for a payload weight, we have 0.739 of an ounce, and that is just a little bit less than 3/4, but that's within the variance of, you know, one powder shot drop to the next. There's really no way to control that. Sometimes you end up with a little bit more than 3/4 if you're going for 3/4. Sometimes you end up with a little bit less. That's just how it is. Again, there's no way to really control machines. If I opened up another one of these, it could be 0.743, it could be 0.753. Again, kind of all over the place with machines, but generally they're pretty spot on. This, however, is some really nice looking shot. I believe that is nickel plated, and if it's not, it's zinc plated. I am positive this is also high antimony shot. I'll crush one in just a second to find out, but overall, that is all consistently sized, very nice and round, very uniform. That is some really, really nice looking shot. The Italians really know what they're doing. This is how I test out if the pellets are hard or not, high antimony, tin, pewter, whatever. I put them on the end of my needle nose pliers, and if they're effortless to squish, that's a sign it's probably pure lead or what's called chilled shot. If they're hard to squish, well, it's hardened lead. Let's see what this is. Yep, that is really hard to squish. That is high antimony lead. I actually had to put some force into that. But there's what's left. Some of you might be thinking, how can you tell the difference in lead hardness? Well, there is a big difference between a pure lead pellet, they squish like butter, versus a hard lead pellet. You actually have to squeeze hard to get it to squish. There is actually quite a big difference. And for a charge, we have 17.2 of this really nice looking powder. It is bluish green. What would you call that? Teal, maybe? I don't know. With what appears to be some OD green flakes in there. Let's get a better look at that. That is honestly some of the nicest looking powder I've ever seen. I thought this was blue and pink whenever I seen it through the shell, but no, guys, it's teal, aquamarine. I don't know. It's a really nice blue-green color, though. And again, it has some OD green pieces in it. Very, very cool looking powder. I wish we had that here in the States. I have no idea what this is. If any of you guys know, leave it in the comments. Now, as for the wad, we do have the SG28-2, the Sporting 28-2. Now, this is probably the best lead shot target wad, or just a 28 gauge 3/4 ounce hunting wad on the market. The pedals are actually decently rigid. That's good. You guys can hear that. They are kind of decently rigid, yeah. Anyway, we do have a built-in crush section on it and a built-in gas seal section. Now, this is a wad that I do like. It works better with powders like blue dot, green dot, things that take up a little bit more room than ball powders. Powders like that, they you don't need filler with them. With long shot, you, most of the time anyway, depending on pellet size, need an overshot card to be able to crimp it. Fold crimp anyway. So yeah, nice. So yeah, pretty nice wad here. Actually, if you're using little gun, you can do a 7/8 ounce payload in 2 3/4 inch, no problem. For 1 ounce, you need to go to the HV28 Magnum wad. Anyway, moving on. This is our hull. Once again, it is a clear hull. Look at it in the sky. Maybe you can see through it. No, well, sort of. Anyway, it is just a clear Cheddite hull. The base wad in this one is a bit odd, though. It's sort of a tall base wad. It's not a tapered hull, but it has sort of a tapered... Imagine a Winchester AA HS, but with the base wad cut down to 1/4 of the height it should be. And that's sort of what this is. So I cut the plastic off a Cheddite 32 gauge hull. I think you guys can actually see what I was talking about. It's sort of similar to Winchester AA HS, but not quite nearly as... Actually, it's not even tapered at all, now that I actually look at it. But yeah, it comes up higher than the actual bottom of the shell does. Again, similar to Winchester AA HS. Now, I went inside and got this 2.5 inch 28 gauge new Cheddite hull, And looking down inside it, we can see actually the exact same relatively tall base wad. I also have the new prime 2 3/4 inch Cheddite hull, 28 gauge. And again, you can see the same style of base wad in it. And that's got me curious, are all Cheddite small bore hulls like that? Do they all have the somewhat tall base wad? I don't know. I don't have any 410 Cheddite hulls, and I don't have any 24 gauge Cheddite hulls. All I have are Fiocchis, and those have low flat base wads. I don't know, guys. And here's what it looks like put back together. I did put a little bit too much pressure when I was closing the shell up, but then I hit it with a GOT BN4, and well, it looks alright, about like it did coming out of the box, although the crimp is a little bit too deep set now. That's okay. The hole was way too small for a shot to leak out of. Overall, I call it a success. So we might take a few of these and dump all the components out and replace it with buckshot loads, because we are wanting to do another 28 gauge buckshot range video, and I think having clear hulls for that would be really, really nice. You could actually see what's inside them. But anyway, guys, there is a breakdown on 28 gauge Cheddite 2 3/4 inch 1330 FPS 3/4 ounce 8-shot. Hope you enjoyed it. This is a bit different than stuff we can find locally. Actually, we can't find anything neat like this locally, but anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.